so-called anthrax letters. The Academy reviewed the scientific methods used by the FBI during its 7-year investigation into the 2001 anthrax mailings. This is a little more than an hour.
Good morning and hello everyone. I'm Jennifer Walsh. I'm a media officer here at the National Academy of Sciences. I'd like to welcome you all here, those here in the room and those joining us via the webcast. We're here to discuss the findings and recommendations of the new report, review of the scientific approaches used during the FBI's investigation of the 2001 anthrax letters. The report was produced by the National Research Council, which is the operating arm of the National Academy of Sciences and the National Academy of Engineering. For those of you not familiar with the National Academy of Sciences, we are an independent nonprofit institution that is separate from the government, and it was formed in 1863 by President Lincoln under a congressional charter to provide science, technology, and health policy advice. For each requested study, committee members are chosen for their expertise and experience and serve pro bono as volunteers to carry out the study's statement of task. The reports that result from the study represent the consensus view of the committee and must undergo external peer review before they are released, as did this report. I have with me today the chair and vice chair of the committee that wrote the report, who will discuss the report's findings and recommendations and answer any questions you may have. First, I would like to recognize Dr. Alice Gast, who is chair of the committee, a member of the National Academy of Engineering, and president of Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I'd also like to recognize Dr. David Relman. He is vice chair of the committee and the Merrigan Professor of Medicine and of Microbiology and Immunology at Stanford University in Palo Alto, California. I would also like to recognize in the audience William Cole-Glazier. He is the Executive Officer of the National Academy of Sciences and the Chief Operating Officer of the National Research Council. We also have next to him Anne-Marie Mazza, and she was the study director for this report. Please note that this briefing is scheduled to last for approximately 1 hour. We'll start off with Dr. Gast giving some opening remarks. Then I'll open it up to questions from credentialed reporters. If time allows, we can then open it up to questions from the public. A reminder that the reporters and the public watching on the web can also submit questions via the link on the web page. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Gast.
Good morning. After the tragic mailings of letters containing Bacillus anthracis in 2001, the FBI began an extensive investigation involving many experts and tremendous resources, and ultimately lasting more than 8 years. This investigation represented a shift in routine operations by the FBI as it reached out to the scientific community to assist in the development of a nascent field called microbial forensics. Work in this field played a prominent role in this investigation. Beginning in October 2001, investigators collected biological evidence from a variety of sources and locations in Florida, the DC region, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and overseas. 4 letters, commonly referred to as the New York Post, Brokaw, Leahy, and Daschle letters, were analyzed in this investigation. No letter was recovered from the AMI facility in Florida, and because of the limited sample amount from the Brokaw letter, limited testing was performed on this material. The FBI and their contract scientists conducted scientific analyses that focused on identifying the nature of the letter materials and environmental samples, their similarities and differences, and their biological, chemical, and physical properties. The type of B. anthracis in the letters and infecting the victims was identified as the AIM strain, a strain not commonly found in nature that was first isolated in 1981 and became widely distributed as a laboratory strain after its initial shipment to the United States Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Disease, USAMRIID. The FBI collected the AIM strain of B. anthracis from laboratories around the world and their investigation focused on determining the similarity between the evidentiary samples and this collection. The FBI connected the letter materials to a particular flask called Flask RMR 1029 that was housed at USAMRIID. In September of 2008, the FBI asked the National Academy of Sciences to convene a committee to conduct an independent review of the scientific approaches used during the anthrax investigation. In July of 2009, we brought together a dedicated group of talented experts to begin work on the report you see today. Our committee members were experts in the fields of microbiology, medicine, physical chemistry, statistics, biochemistry, public health, environmental studies, forensic science, and jurisprudence. In the course of our 2-year study, the FBI provided us with approximately 9,600 pages of materials. With the release of this report, all of these materials are now available to the public. Over the past 19 months, the committee focused its efforts on the review and consideration of these materials, along with presentations by the FBI and DOJ and by scientists whose work informed the investigation. Despite our repeated requests throughout the study for all relevant material, in November of 2010, the FBI identified additional materials for the committee to review and requested the opportunity to brief the committee again. After serious consideration of this request, we agreed to see these materials and hold another committee meeting. This additional information, included in the 9,600 pages, provided greater insight into the scientific organization of the investigation and provided new information about overseas samples. It also resulted in the addition of a new section in the report and a new finding and recommendation. We would like to make it clear that our study focused on the application of biological, physical, and chemical sciences to this investigation by the FBI. We did not review or evaluate the more traditional forensic sciences, such as fingerprint, fiber, or hair analyses, and we did not consider any of the psychological or behavioral sciences, such as linguistics, as used by the FBI in this investigation. Additionally, we were not asked and lacked the expertise to review law enforcement investigative materials. We also were not asked to and will not offer any view on the guilt or innocence of any person or persons. An important part of the scientific investigation was the discovery that a fraction of the B. anthracis cells in the letter samples showed unusual growth properties. As a result, these cells produced distinctive so-called colonies when grown on a petri dish, as illustrated on the cover of our report. When these bacterial colonies with a distinct appearance or morphotype were examined more closely, scientists found that the cells in these colonies had genetic mutations. They realized that these mutations might provide the basis for specific genetic tests that could be applied to other samples collected during the course of this investigation. We refer to these genetic tests as molecular assays in our report. This work was central to the scientific investigation.